Okay, fantastic. So whilst you're all typing away your answers there, I shall introduce myself. So for those who don't know me, my name is Will Saunders, and I'm the founder of the Branding for Good creative agency and social enterprise called Goodwill Studios. And we exist to help those who put purpose over profit to make a bigger impact with your brand. We help you find your brand voice and cut through the noise, so ultimately you can create a more meaningful connection with your audience, so you can make that positive difference in the world. And this whole subject is really interesting for me because I had such a big problem selling. I used to think it was slimy and awful, and I hated doing it. And for the longest time, I didn't. You know, I just went along with whatever the client wanted to pay me, which meant I didn't have a fixed pricing structure. My income changed all the time, and I was massively undercharging for my work. I can see some people nodding their heads along. Does that sound like you right now? Yeah, exactly. So I am delighted that I'm hosting this event, and as the title says, it's all about helping good people to sell more. So whether you're a social enterprise doing good work, or you're a business with something valuable that the world needs, this session should give you some pointers and a framework to help you engage with your new clients, to onboard them, and to sell in an ethical way, so you don't need to compromise your values in order to make a living. And joining me to run this workshop today is leading ethical sales coach, Martin Steller, who is a really, really interesting guy with a great story. He is a writer, a singer, a former monk, and he's now dedicating his days to helping good people sell more. So as I said, I'm really happy to be able to share his ethical sales framework with you all now. So the structure of this session is we'll have around 30 minutes of training, followed by a short 15-minute or so Q&A session at the end. The format will be very informal, so feel free to ask questions along the way, either by typing in the chat or unmuting yourself and jumping in with a question. So if that all sounds good, I'd like to hand you over to Martin to begin the session. So,
hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited. I'm nervous too, but that's my problem. I'm really hoping that you're going to get a big mind shift out of all of this. I created this framework because I see so many people struggle to get good work sold and to make the impact that your business, your work should have. Now the framework itself, oh yeah, about the questions. If you have a question and you want to unmute yourself and ask something, that's fine. But if it's a longer question that I need to dive into, please reserve it for the Q&A afterwards. If it's a short question, just interrupt me and I'll try to answer it as I go along. And that is because the framework is rather dense. Will gave me 30 minutes and I'm trying to fit everything into those 30 minutes. So I hope it's going to work, and I hope we'll actually manage to go through the whole program. So I'm going to share my screen because I have some slides that I use. There we go. Can everybody see the intro? Yeah, okay, there we go. So LEAP, what does LEAP stand for? We'll get to that in a minute. Before that, a quick rundown, like Will said, ex-monk, former copywriter, psychology fanatic. I'm a systems tinkerer. I'm always looking at how to make something that's already working work better. And I love businesses that exist to make a difference. Good people doing good work. Now I help people solve the good egg problem, which is when, because of your values, you don't manage to sell more. I show people how to sell more not despite your values, but because. Right, yes. The good egg problem is when, see, that's when I get nervous and then I trip myself up. More sales without compromising your values. So I'm a coach and consultant for ethical sales and business growth. Sometimes they call me the sales coach monk. In short, I help nice people sell more. I help good people sell more. And that's why we're here. So I would like this to be as interactive as possible. So yes, ask questions. First, I have a couple of questions. If you would draw 3 sliders, right, on 3 scales from 0 to 5, how do you rate your, how much fun is selling for you, right? If you really hate it, it's a 0. If you really like it, it's a 5. Where are you on that scale? The second question is, how do you rate your skills? You don't know how to sell yourself, it's a 0. You do all right, it's a 3. And the third question is, how do you rate your success rate? Right, so you have 3 numbers, add them up, divide them by 3. That is what I call your good egg score. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to get back to that. But this is an important number. It's the average of how sales figures in your life and your business. By the way, I have to apologize for the accent and for the ways in which I trip myself up and the speed at which I talk. I hope everybody can follow. Now, how did I get here? I spent 12 years in a monastery and I was trained to be a tailor. So when I left, logically, obviously, I started a business. But in a monastery, you don't learn marketing or selling. You learn how to make good suits, if you're lucky. And that was it. And I thought that quality sells itself. That if I just make really wonderful suits and I do a bit of blogging and some interacting on forums, it's going to work. 150,000, love the accent, thank you. $150,000 in inheritance, and 3 years later, I was bankrupt and I had learned that this is not how things work. So I started copywriting. I had by then learned a lot about marketing and selling, and gradually I transitioned into coaching and then sales coaching. Now, what is it about selling? This is the first notion that I want you to take home, is that people love to buy. They just loathe being sold to. So if you can flip the whole sales situation around in a way that people buy out of their own volition, you don't have to sell anything to them. It really is a matter of having a conversation in such a way that enables them to want to buy. When you have that conversation, you get, if you're lucky, I was lucky last year, you get this. I was talking to a lady who was interested in this actual training. I showed her in a rundown of 10 minutes how it works. I asked her, is this something that you would want? And she goes, yes, take my money. Now, I thought this only happened in The Simpsons, but it actually can happen. And it was a really a fun moment. And this is where I would like to take you today, as much as possible in these 30 minutes, to the point where the person says, I'm ready, let's do this, where do I sign up, or even take my money? Conversations are what makes a sale. Love the drawings, thank you. A conversation happens in the context of a relationship, and a sale happens in the context of a conversation. So you want to turn the sales process into the development of a relationship that leads to that person buying. And this can go very fast. Last week, somebody within an hour said, okay, let's do this. I'm in. So it is about having conversations. Now, what kind of conversations? The conversation that you want to have with a buyer is one where you serve them in reaching a decision, to make the right decision for them at this moment. And that can sometimes mean that it's not the right decision, that it's not the right time, that the offer isn't right, and then you get a no. Later on, we're going to look at why that no is actually really important. So I'm going to show the framework. Right. So any business, if it wants to survive, will need to make a profit. And in order to make that profit happen, there's 3 things, 3 areas of interest that you want to pay attention to. You want to listen, you want to explain, and ask. And that is how it got to be the listen, explain, ask, leap sales framework. And it is based on 3 core human psychological elements. Integrity, empathy, and ethics. Right? Now, I built this thing because I see 3 core problems happen with people where they really, really don't like selling. If only I didn't have to sell my work, life would be so business would be so much fun. The second problem is, yeah, I sell my work, but I just can't get the rates, the prices that it's worth. I don't get paid as I should. The third problem that I very often come across is, it's working, I get the money, I don't mind it too much. Jesus, so many people just walk away and don't close. My conversion rate should be higher. This framework is designed to turn that around. A higher conversion rate, better pay, better revenue, more profit, and turning selling into something that's actually fun. And yes, it can be fun. If an ex-monk can turn selling into something that's fun, so can you. So with that said, back to the slides. When you are in the listen phase, you want to operate basically like an investigator, like an anthropologist. You want to ask yourself, why do they do this? What is their motivation? What are they afraid of? What are they seeking? What well-being are they after? So you're exploring what it is like for them to be them. You want to learn that person. You want to ask yourself, what is it like to be them? How do you do that? You start by asking questions. And then, obviously, when you ask questions, you get answers. Wonderful. But we have a fundamental problem as human beings, psychologically, that when we ask the questions and we get the answers, we assign meaning to those answers. We think that we know what it means. But what somebody answers is not necessarily what you think it means. Right? Somebody might not have enough trust to give you a complete answer. They might not have understood everything that is implied in your question. They might be cagey. They might want to ask you more questions first. So the job when you are selling something, the job to do, is to persistently explore the relationship between the answers, the questions, the answers, and what they mean. When you do that, you demonstrate that you're not locking people up into a meaning that you assign, right? When you see this very often in relationships, when arguments happen, that, well, you said this and that meant so-and-so. No, that's not what I meant. I meant so. Yeah, you did mean it because you said it. No. This, in a relationship, is very easy to see, difficult to fix. In a sales conversation, it's a lot easier to fix if you keep this attitude of exploring and investigating. When you do that, you earn permission. And permission is really what ethical selling is all about. So you want to gain permission, and you do that, you know, when you do that, you'll get better clients, because the investigating and seeking permission enables them to trust you. You won't have to persuade them, because persuasion is something that causes a lot of rejection and a lot of resistance and objections. So yeah, before we go further with the model, one thing to always remember is rule number 6, and that is, don't take yourself so seriously. And there's no rule number 1, 4, or 5. Just remember, don't take yourself so seriously. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't think about it too much. And this is something that especially nice people with values do very often, is get all worked up about having to have the sales. Relax. There is somebody there with a problem. They're talking to you or going to talk to you because they want to find out if you can help them and if they want it. When you turn a conversation about buying into that, it is something that both you and the buyer enjoy, which is really important. I will get back to the why of that in a moment. So there's 3 core principles when you are in a sales conversation. They have a problem, an issue, a need, a concern. There's something threatening their business or their life. There's something that needs to be fixed or improved. There's a conversation going on in their mind. And your goal is to earn the permission to join the conversation that's going on. Right? You don't want to go and spew features and benefits at people. You want to have a meaningful, exploring conversation that enables them to enter, lets them let you into their world. So you become part of that conversation that's going on. And then you develop a sort of resonance, and you have experienced this, you know, and whether attunement, resonance, it's not a woo-woo word. It's when two people are aligned. They feel the same way. They are agreeing with each other. It feels good to have the conversation. And that is the kind of state that you want to create when speaking with a buyer. And very importantly, don't try to solve their problems. When you're talking to a buyer, you might be giving some advice here and there, that's not a problem, but you want to dive very deep in problem finding, not problem solving. Because when you show up and you're like, oh, well, you needed this, and I can fix that for you because that is your problem, they are going to feel as if you're diagnosing before, prescribing before diagnosing, which in the medical world is malpractice. You know, you don't do that. And you shouldn't do it as a vendor or a seller of something either. You want to explore their mind, their world, the problems that they have, until they themselves tell you, well, this is the problem, I need help with that. And when you find that problem, and you then say, well, I have an offer or a solution or a remedy that addresses exactly that problem, they're going to go, tell me more. So you're an explorer, an anthropologist. You want to look at the meaning of the answers, but then you want to question the answers. You want to be very, very, well, not skeptical, but inquisitive about, is what they're saying actually what they mean? Is it the whole answer? Is there something that I missed? Because when we seek a pattern, as we do as human beings, pattern-seeking machines, oh, they say this, it means that. And we're looking at that thing, and we're not seeing the thing that is next to it, which might be a far more appropriate or correct interpretation. So question the answers. And beware of confirmation bias. Yeah, I have this problem and I would really need like somebody to help me with solving it. And well, I can do that. Oh, wonderful. Let's talk about how that works. Hey, they're on board. They're going to buy from me. That is you assuming that you understood and that their message confirms what you're hoping for. Confirmation bias is a very, very tricky beast. And if it's a new word to you, or if you've never really looked into it, look it up. Especially do a Google search for confirmation bias in sales. It'll open your eyes. Am I going too fast? Actually, no? All right. Now here's another thing about selling. Don't try to be interesting. There is an example of a socialite in the UK in the 50s or 40s, and she was at this really big fancy gala dinner, and she was sat between two very important gentlemen. And afterwards, somebody asked her how it was to spend an evening talking to these two men. And she said, well, the man on my left, the gentleman on my left, he made me feel like he was the most interesting person in the world. And the man on my right, he made me feel like I was the most interesting person in the world. That man on the right went up to become the prime minister. So when you are interested in the other person, they automatically start being interested in you. And what we normally do is we try to, show our accolades and the testimonials and all the different types of elements of the job that we can do. We try to make ourselves look interesting. And that is the mistake that a lot of people make. Go for being interested in them so that they automatically become interested in you. That means you have to question yourself as well as the other. It's not just about the meaning of their answers. It's also about questioning how you are holding up in that relationship, in that conversation. Then there's pain versus pleasure. The human being seeks well-being, right? Our subconscious has a directive which is to keep us safe from harm and drive us towards well-being. And you can read, when you start to really listen to people, the signals that show that their subconsciousness in some way, on some level, is concerned, is worried, is assuming that there's going to be pain in the future. When that happens, you need to step back and again question the conversation that you're having and the messaging that you're giving. And it all comes down to what it is like to be them, to really understand what is going on in their world. So here's a couple of questions to ask yourself related to the listen area of the framework. And you can actually use these questions. Disraeli, yes, I think it was Disraeli. I'm not sure who became prime minister or some other really high role in government. Question 1, what are these people afraid of? What is this buyer afraid of? And what is frustrating them? Because these are not the two same things. Then what are their wants and what are their aspirations, right? What do they want to have solved, changed, fixed, improved? And what do they aspire to achieve? What should all those improvements and changes and fixes result in? And what problem specifically are they trying to solve? But that's not where it stops, because what is the problem behind that problem? And the problem behind that problem? And because there's always a problem behind each problem, right? So imagine somebody asks you for a new website. Now, why would they want that? Well, because if it looks good, then it keeps people on the page for a longer time, obviously. Why do they want that? Well, to get more calls booked. Yes, and why do they want more calls? So that they get more sales. Yes, and why do they want more sales? Because then they can keep their employees working and grow their business. Why do they want that? Because then they get to have more impact. When you dig down and you keep asking and searching for what is the problem behind the problem and the thing that they really want solved, you'll end up with something that resonates so much, rings so true for them, that they're going to automatically assume that you're the best person to fix it. Because if you can formulate their problem better than they could, they will automatically credit you with having the solution. So when you are dealing with a client, whether it's after the initial conversation or before you get in that conversation, do this exercise. Try to write down what you think are 3 fears that they have and 1 frustration, 3 wants and 1 aspiration. And then they have said, I need this problem solved. Okay, do the 5 whys exercise. 5 whys, that's something you can Google. It's from the Toyota production philosophy. If you look up how 5 why works, you'll find a really useful method for digging deeper into what's going on in another person's world. And here's something that only an ex-monk would tell you. It's not just about serving somebody. Selling can also be an act of devotion, because this person that you're talking to is devoted to their business, to their mission, to their purpose, to everything that they want to put into the world. I am devoted to my business. You, hopefully, are devoted to your business. So when you put it in that context where you devote yourself to serving that purpose, you create a space where people automatically start opening up to you. So that's a lot to start with. Take a quick break. I would love to hear, whether in the chat or if you want to unmute yourself, what would be one thing that you would love to change in your sales process, in the way you handle things? Anybody? Know how to start the conversation? Okay, good one. Sometimes these chats come through very slow. It's very odd. I don't know why Zoom does that. Keep typing. How do we get them interested in what you have to offer? By being interested in them, right? Getting in the room in the first place, starting the conversation, get the meeting. Yes, very important, very difficult sometimes. See people one-to-one, not online. Difficult at this time of history, Alexandra. Moving from them being aware of you to actually engaging with you. This is so helpful, totally resonate. Getting in front of, oh wow, now it's going fast. Of the person in the first place. I would like to soften my style, coming from a corporate sales environment where people are used to being sold and buying. Be better at finding their frustration. How do you show interest in someone remotely? You're asking questions. Questions. Questions are the answer to everything. How to have self-confidence in your own business. Show up to more people. You get confidence by doing. How do you know who to talk to? That's a matter of your ideal customer avatar. Who should you actually be talking to? because a lot of the sales conversations that happen should never happen in the first place because they're not the right person. Finding the right approach to follow up the initial discussion. What about when they want the solution before you have a chance to really explore? Then it could be very useful to challenge them on that. We'll get to that in a moment at the challenge the yes point. So moving on, would you recommend, let me see that again, to ask questions out in the open on social media to get to know them? Sure, why not? Yeah, if you have a grip on a certain platform, I ask questions on Twitter sometimes, and it can be very interesting to see the responses. Yes, okay. So when you, here we go, do this whole question, answer, and meaning investigation properly, you earn permission. And you need that to end up in the trust area. Now, in the explain area. Explain means giving people a really clear picture on what something is, what it is not, who it is for, and who it is not for. Right? So is means what's in the tin? How does it work? What's the terms and conditions? What can they expect? What are the deliverables? Very important part. Mark, you want to say something? You just showed up in my, okay, all right. A very important part of the whole process is making it very clear what they should not expect, what is not in the tin, what it is not going to resolve. When you volunteer that information, instead of trying to pass over it by hammering on with the features and the benefits of what it all is and what it does, they are going to respect you more, listen to you more, they're going to trust you more, because you're beginning to give them reasons to say no. Hey, now that's interesting. Somebody is not chasing me. They are actually telling me, well, if you wanted to do this, then it might not be the right choice for you. I like that. So he's not just after the sale. And the is for is not for. Yeah, not everything is for everybody. It's really important that you identify which kind of person should buy your thing and which one shouldn't. And when in the explain area, you make it very clear that if you are this kind of person, I'm afraid we're not a right fit, I don't think that this is going to work for you, you achieve something really, really important. You build trust. I'm going to explain in a moment why you need the trust. So explain really is what's in the tin, all right? How are we for time, Will? Will, you there? Oh, don't hear Will. Okay, moving on.
We are now at the 30-minute mark, so...
We're at 30 minutes.
Yep, might just squeeze in in the next 5 minutes or so. Or use this as the kind of, teaser session and find out more.
Yeah.
Well, let me just ask, how's everyone else for time? Do we have time to continue for the next 10, 15 minutes, or is everyone needing to wrap up?
Okay.
Keep going.
Yes. Okay. Time.
Okay.
Good to carry on.
Is
Nice.
enthralled, so let's carry on, shall we?
Okay, cool. I'll be as fast as I can. I'll try to speak faster. So everything changes when your point of origin is empathy. When you take their perspective, when you try to become part of their world, to join that conversation in their head, when you ask yourself, what is it like to be them? In other words, you want to learn your people. You want to learn your market, your niche, your ideal client, and the person in front of you. That is how you build that resonance. But you're going to have to practice this, right? If you're learning this and it's all very nice and interesting, it's not going to help you that much. You want to apply this rigorous self-questioning and exploring in the conversations that you have with people. All right, so we saw that. Ethical selling is based on service, empathy, integrity. And then people will love having sales conversations with you, which is fantastic, because when somebody has a good experience with you, they walk away feeling respected. They go, yeah, I like you. I feel respected by you. I'll talk to you again. Now, what do you get then? An open door at the moment that you want to follow up with someone. So not only does it make the conversation better, it also increases the chances that they're going to be very open to continuing the conversation. And remember, the conversation is the context in which a sale ultimately will happen. So you want to create trust. You explain, and that's the mechanics. Now, here is a bit about features and benefits, right? If you show a mouse cheese, he's going to come nearer to it. If you show him whiskers, he's gone. So this is the subconscious looking out for signs of danger, anything that seems to be a threat. So you want to be careful to not frighten the lizard brain. And when you notice that somebody, sits back or starts to, when there's a signal that you can read from them that they seem to be worried, concerned, afraid, threatened by something, stop. Review how the conversation has been going quickly, as fast as you can in your mind, and see what kind of question you would ask. You can even ask, hey, just pause here for a moment. I get a feeling that there's something bothering you or something you're concerned about. Well, anything that you'd like to ask me or share. And when you do that, you take the pressure off. You then open up your door to learn them more, and they're going to go, oh, somebody is hearing me. I'm seen. Because that is the whole thing. I forget what the Zulu word is. They have a greeting. And the greeting says, translates as, I see you. And I think that's a very beautiful word as a greeting. Everybody wants to be seen. And when you can give people that feeling that you're seeing them, they're automatically going to want to share more with you. So when you explain properly what it is not, who it is for, who it is not for, you give them the clarity they need to filter themselves in or out. Then they'll trust you more because you won't have to persuade them. So you set clarity, you create clarity and set reasonable expectations. What it is not, what it is for, and what it is not for. So that they can identify themselves as the person who wants it. They can self-diagnose as the person who needs it. And so you work with the notion of people like us do things like this, right? You create reasonable expectations where it's a quote from Seth Godin, and it's a really important notion. People like us do things like this. The buyer is sitting there listening to you, having that conversation with you, with them, asking those questions, giving them answers. And they're going to feel themselves like, yeah, I'm the kind of person who should buy this. Actually, I'm a people like us, and I should do this. That is the self-diagnosis and diagnosis and self-enrollment. And as a doctor prescribes medication, it's not your business whether or not they buy. The doctor shouldn't tell you you have to. Well, he will try to recommend it and make sure that you do. You do everything you can. He's not going to come to your door and push the pills down your throat. Right? That is up to the patient. And it's up to the buyer to select themselves. So you want to filter for high quality clients. And that means it's not just about them self-selecting. It is also about you selecting the client. Not everybody is the right fit, right? They have their rules about who they want to pay, who they want to work with, what they want to expect, but you also have your rules about who should be in your world, because not everybody is the best client to work with. Micromanagers, oh man, that can go awry so badly. So keep things simple. Don't overthink things, don't overcomplicate things, and enable the other person to take ownership over their decision. Because again, from the beginning, a sales process is them making a decision and you serving them in making the best decision for them at this time. And yeah, then when you do that, you end up with clients that are a lot more fun and a lot more lucrative, right? So questions to ask yourself: what makes this buyer a no for you? Who should just not be in your world? Going too fast now, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jill. There will be a replay, so you'll be able to watch it all back. I know I'm just trying to get at least the basic. There's actually 4 elements. We're at number 2 now, and I think we're only going to have time for 3. What makes this a buyer a no for you? What should make this offer a clear no for them? And what can you say that makes it ultra clear that they are in control here and that you don't need their purchase? Avoid overwhelm. Keep things simple. Let it be clear. Don't promise too much. You promise the world, they're going to expect one. Or they're not going to trust the offer. Keep things very basic, plain vanilla. This is what it is, this is what it's not, and this is who it is for or not for. Where are you on that scale? So what's the cost of working with people who aren't the right fit? They will keep you going up and down in feast and famine and in struggling a lot with the projects that you have to deal with, and God, another email that I have to, no, search for the clients that keep you above the middle line where you're going between really awesome and, you know, this is okay. Avoid people who would put you below the middle line. People who haggle, who don't see the value you bring, or who micromanage. And then the right clients, they enroll themselves when you explain, use the explain conversation as the, to state who it is not for. And then you suddenly avoid looking needy. Needy is creepy, right? When somebody is like, I must have this, I need to, it's like, okay, what's going on? What's wrong with you? So when you can take the stance where I don't need the sale, I'm okay with a yes and a no, they're going to, again, come closer, resonate with you more. It raises trust. You get more sales and higher revenue the more you're not needy and in tune with their world, exploring all this. So you work the explained conversation in order to develop trust, which is what you need to get to pillar number 7, which is enrollment. We've used the word a lot now. It's not about selling. It is about them enrolling themselves. Pillar number 8 is the most important word in sales. It's the no. You'll get a C of no before you get to a yes. In a moment, we'll look at how important that no is. The third element is not the close in selling. It's the open. I think it's a strange way to think about selling, that you close a sale. No, you open a new version of the relationship with them. They open a new phase in their life. You open something. Yeah, of course, you close a contract, you close a sale. But what really happens is something happens, changes, shifts, and things open up for them. Oh, sorry to see you go, Alberto. Yes, always be closing. It is an awful, it is very, it's like a shark, predatory. It's not the way nice people think. So back to the slides. Yes, when you're talking about the ask, you want to create vision with that person. Without a vision, there's no decision. You might see your work benefiting them, you know, the after you buy this and I do my work, it's going to be so great for you. Yeah, you see that. But if they don't see it, they're not going to buy. Now, you can't convince them. You can try to persuade them, and it's not a nice thing to do. But if you have a conversation based on enrollment, where you lead with no, where you actually volunteer the no, where you ask them, you invite them to say no, they're going to open up to you, and they're going to increasingly want to know what your vision is. And then those two visions, yours and theirs, are going to overlap. When that happens, then they enroll themselves. So how do you get people to enroll? Well, you ask. You find that increasingly, once you start really working, and I really recommend everybody rewatches the replay, let it sink in, let this form part of the way you communicate, because you will start getting comfortable and saying, okay, so is this something that you want? Is this something you'd like to move forward on? Or if you've not made the proposal yet, to get there, to say to people, would you like to discuss what it looks like to solve this problem? How would you like to move forward together? That's going to become something really natural as asking people if they want another cup of coffee. Because in the end, what you're asking them to consider or to buy or to take home is something that will benefit them, something that they'll enjoy, just like a cup of coffee. And then no brings a lot of opportunities. So no vision, no decision. Ask yourself, do they signal? Does it seem like they actually see what you're seeing for them? It is your mission to work with their vision, understand them so much that they're automatically going to want to see and ask and inquire and implement your vision overlapping their vision. And then something really important. Steve Jobs said people don't buy products. They buy different versions of themselves. So fundamentally, when somebody buys something, it is a statement about who they want to become next. It is an identity issue, something very, very overlooked in all marketing and sales. Only the really well-trained, really smart entrepreneurs understand that when somebody buys something, they upgrade themselves. So your buyer in that whole process, once they buy, what does that say about them? Who do they want to become? I want to be somebody who has invested in the best coach in the world. I want to be a business owner who buys an expensive website that works so well that I'm going to be hiring 10 more people in the next year. Right? So what is the identity that they're looking to obtain? Right, then you get the no, ask for the no, don't be afraid of a no, lead with no. I don't know if this is a good solution for you. I don't know if this fits into your world. Let me know if I'm seeing this wrong, but it sounds like you might want to fix that. When you volunteer the no, you have no idea how much the trust increases. Because what you do, you give them the right to veto. And this is something really fundamental in psychology. The worst thing that you can do to somebody is imprison them. You take away their autonomy, their right to decide for themselves. Well, maybe there's worse things, but it is one of the worst punishments that there is. When somebody cannot say, no, this is not going to happen. You rob them of something fundamental, which is the freedom, the autonomy to choose for themselves. And when you hand somebody the no, you give them the right to veto, they're going to love you. And when you are not attached to the yes, when you are not needy, even if you need the sale, it creates trust. Here's a couple of questions, a couple of responses for how to handle the no when you get it, because that's always a delicate point. Can you tell me in what way the offer doesn't meet your needs? This works in love relationships as well. Yes, it does, absolutely. Pacing is still okay. Okay. Quick question. What would make it a yes? Another one is, if money were not the issue, would it be a yes? Shall I follow up with you at a later date when you have more time? Is there anything else I can help you with? Would you like me to point at some resources? There's a few books. I have a friend who has a free webinar series. Right? So there's a lot of ways that you can respond to the no in a way that is non-threatening. And anytime that somebody says no, your first response is, thanks. That's not a problem. Right? Don't have the money. That's not a problem. And then you can continue the conversation, because the worst thing that can happen in a sales situation is when you respond in a way that breaks it. Right? I had an example, an artist told me that somebody had ordered 5 paintings from Scandinavia. And he was wrapping them up and tearing the canvases off the frames and rolling them. And his assistant had been looking for packaging materials, and it was great. It was a sale. And then she writes, and says, actually, I'm only taking these 4. The next day, no, it's only these 3. And then it's only these 2. And in the end, it ended up, she was not buying anything. And he writes an email back and he says, well, that's really not done. You know, I've been spending time and my assistant, and I understand if you want to change the order, but to cancel the whole thing, he killed the relationship. If he would have said, that's no problem. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Because you don't know what's going, maybe she lost a relative. Maybe her house burned down. Who knows? Maybe her business went bankrupt. There is something, there's a reason for somebody to do the things that they do. And we don't know that. So respect people's world and their life and keep the relationship intact. This guy could have said, not a problem. And if he a month later would have sent an email saying, hey, I made something similar to the one you were thinking about buying. What do you think? She would have gone, that's nice. Right? So the follow-up is always beautiful example and so true. We don't know where somebody is coming from. Exactly. There's always something happening in somebody's world and you don't know that. So don't break the relationship. I have to leave, but this is marvelous. So much to take in. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. Okay. Anyone come to mind who might be interested? Okay, the open, final part. When somebody buys, it is a new identity. Who do they want to become? They are stepping into a new relationship. You need to ask for a yes at some point, but then challenge the yes. So the question earlier on, when they tell you what they want before you have even explored, okay, say, good, sounds really interesting. I have a bunch of questions because I want to make sure that I get your brief, your demand exactly right. You pause the conversation, you slow down. Look, you're the one selling, you're controlling the conversation. You're the steward of the relationship. It is your job to protect that relationship and the conversation and to make sure that they actually know what they're getting themselves into. So challenge the yes. When you do, people love enrolling in your offer. One of my clients, I didn't even have to sell after, I don't know, 40 minutes. They go like, how do we get more of this? Those people stayed with me for 3 years. They were worth thousands of dollars. And I never actually had to sell them on anything because I was serving them in making a decision. I work in the field of trauma and safety. Choices being removed and huge issues for people, including me, and will put them on high alert. Makes sense. Good, good, I'm happy. Right, questions to ask yourself. What vision do they have and where does it differ from your vision? Where do they not overlap? This helps you identify fears and objections. What is the best way to ask for the sale based on your perception of their vision? And what can you ask them a no on? You'd be surprised what people will say no to when your question starts with, hey, I don't know if this is for you, or let me know if I got it wrong. They might say, no, carry on. I'd like to know more. Right? So leading with a no is a really powerful tool. Now, I wasn't born this way. I had a lot of hard knocks. Right? It took me a long time to get my head around this and to learn how to have these conversations. And that is why I put it all together in this framework to help people who want to do something good. Question, how do you know when you have reached the credible yes and when to move to the proposal? Well, the credible yes is when the money is in the account or when the contract is signed. Until that point, it's not a sale until the money is there or the contract is signed. When to move on to the proposal, that is when they ask you. Okay, Johan. I have to go as well. Thanks, Mil. Fantastic content. Every single time. I learn a lot from him. Always a pleasure. And we'll check out the replay. Thanks. Yeah. Jan is a client. I have to dash. All right. Thanks for being here. I hope to see you someday. Hard knocks, hard work. Okay. What is your typical reaction when you hear no? What other reaction would be more useful? What would be a good reaction for you? Okay, let's move on. So just as you'll be asking your customer to step into another identity, I'm asking the same thing. To become somebody who uses the whole process of selling as an act of service. And that means you need grit and resilience and buoyancy because you're going to go through a sea of no, especially if you start asking for them. But whenever you ask for a no and you get a no, you know that you can always go back. That person will be welcoming you. And then selling sucks goes to, it's not so bad, I got this. And if an ex-mom can do it, then so can you. So this is the end, the 3 recap lessons. Number 1, you serve their decision-making process. Number 2, you enable voluntary enrollment. And number 3 is embrace the no. So before we jump into the Q&A, a quick little pitch about if you want to get training on this. I'll keep it as short as possible. It's a one-on-one program, 10 weekly sessions. We go through each of these 9 pillars, and then there's a bonus session with the profit, how to actually package and price things to make a profit. Session is 45 minutes, and because it's one-on-one, I'll be able to tailor each training, which lasts about 20 minutes, and then there's 20-25 minutes Q&A, to your individual business and your specific challenges. I'll be giving you homework specifically for the challenges that you have. You get ongoing email support. Gotta go. All right. Thanks for being here, Stella. Ongoing email support. Any questions, anytime. It's a $1,500 investment. And if you feel that that is for you, then the bonus is that the first session is a 1.5 hour coaching session. So before we do the training bit of the first pillar, I'm going to ask you questions about your business so that I really know how to tailor the whole program to your situation. 3 options. If you want to have a chat and talk personally to see if this is right for you, go to martinsteller.com/assessment. We'll spend 20 minutes and then we'll see how to move forward. If this is really right for you and you want in, then you can sign up now at a $100 discount, martinsteller.com/leap impact, and you can get on board right away. You'll receive a redirect to schedule your first session. Or if you want a payment plan, that's $800 twice. Go to martinsteller.com/LSF payment plan. And that's it from me. Let's move into the question and answer.
Awesome. That was fantastic, Martin. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. And I like how you just showed the whole process and this good example here, where you're offering something of service that's useful. And if people want it, they can get in touch with you there. So yeah, wow. My head is full of really fantastic ideas now. And I hope that people here are the same.
Same for everybody.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, so obviously we have gone slightly over time, but I think it was so worth, going through these steps. Does anybody have a specific question that you'd like to quickly unmute yourself, or just give a thought on what was the main takeaway here?
Questions.
Great stuff, Martin. Really enjoyed it. It really kind of makes you think about how you engage clients, up front, and really drilling down on, their situation and really listening and investigating. So thank you.
Pleasure. Any questions?
So, Martin, I found that was, can you hear me? I'm not sure if I'm coming through.
Yep.
I thought that was excellent. If you may have been nervous, but you didn't disappoint in your follow through.
That's good to hear.
It was interesting to find out, because as with all of these things, you have a number of conversations, and eventually you get to meet somebody or see them and converse with them. And I was trying to work out how you're going to make any money out of all of this altruistic endeavor that you're doing. So I can see where you're coming from, and the price point is about what I would have expected. And it's I think there's probably another conversation to turn me into an exuberant yes, rather than I need to learn more. My biggest question is, this obviously works well if we're seeing, we're conversing when we're looking at each other. How do you embrace this concept in our sort of hands-off remote world via LinkedIn or wherever else? How do you start a conversation that allows you to ask these questions that are valuable in determining whether to progress with that relationship?
Depends. What industry are you in?
I've been a management consultant for a number of years, but I've moved from project recovery into coaching and mentoring, mainly along leadership coaching. And the danger always is that you don't want to appear, to know everything and to have the answer to everything and have led the perfect career, because none of us have. But how do you actually start a conversation that allows someone to want to engage with you?
Show them that you have taken time, that you've invested in them. But nobody wants to invest in somebody who's not invested in them. So what I do, for example, when I find somebody that I think is interesting, I look at their website, I look at their social profiles, I try to get a picture of who this person is, what they might be struggling with, and I don't have any clear idea of what their challenges will be. Do they need coaching on sales, on marketing? Do they need marketing implementation? Do they need copywriting? I don't know. But I research what they're about. I research what their values are. And then I might take 10 minutes, 20 minutes. In some cases, it can take an hour if it is a really interesting person. And then when I show up with a message, I let them know, I demonstrate that I've spent that time. So my method is with a platform called Loom, loom.com. So I'll have their website there. I'll record a little screencast. My face is in the corner and I'm saying, hey, I've been looking at what you're doing. This is really cool. That is something that actually I've never thought about. And I have some ideas on how I might be able to help you. Would you like to spend 20 minutes and figure out if I'm somebody for you? The response rate to that is really high, not only because it is personal, but because it is, well, because it is personalized. Right? The video side of it really works very well. But the fact that I invest in them before even asking a second of their time means that they're going to appreciate me more than somebody who shows up and says, oh, I see you're a marketing consultant. I might be able to help you. Look, I get 100 of these a day. Oh, but you've actually been looking at my website and you've picked something out that not everybody knows, sees, or pays attention to. I respect that. And then you have this engagement, they engage with you after you have started engaging with them.
Well, that makes quite a lot of sense. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, as I just mentioned in the chat, that was kind of how Martin got in touch with me, and I thought, oh, that's good. He has taken the time, and you know, obviously, I didn't expect that he would have taken, you know, hours and hours in finding out everything about me, but it was far more of a kind of thoughtful, friendly approach than just a blank, cold email, because I sort of saw your face, I heard your voice, and instantly those barriers of time and distance just, you know, melted away, and I was speaking to a real human. So yeah, that's a really good technique there. Any other questions? Those 20 minutes, are they for free? Yes, they are. This is not to charge you anything, and it's not to sell you anything. You know what this thing is, you know what it costs. It's just to figure out, are we actually on the same page? Would you like to learn from me? And it's up to you to then say, yeah, let's do it, or let's not. So yeah, feel free to book a call if you want. Any other questions? I've got one for you, Martin. What has been maybe the biggest challenge of this process, and what's been the best outcome, would you say? Of which process? This using this framework that you've just showed us. Like, have you encountered any kind of challenges where people weren't maybe opening up? And the flip side of that, what's been an example of how it really worked and you got the most out of people and they, you know, they built that good relationship? People not opening up? No, not really. Not that I can remember, not in recent years. Because the way I approach an initial contact and the email conversation, people very quickly will get a feeling for whether they even want to deal with me or not. And so then they stop engaging, and then I don't get that not opening up. A really great outcome was something last week. I sent one of those messages in the morning, 11 o'clock. At 12 o'clock, she replied and booked a call. At 6 o'clock, we had a meeting. We spent 30 minutes talking, 40 minutes, and an hour later, she sent me money. You know, just in one day, completely cold outreach. This was the first time that happened that quick to me. But that's, yeah, the result of just really making it about the other person and taking the time to make sure that I reach out to somebody who pretty sure looks like it might be the right person. Don't go and spam everybody with the right label or job title. Figure out who this is, and do you actually want to work with this person? Would they want to work with you? You are God. No, I'm just a little stellar. Okay, any other questions? No? Done? Excellent. I have one question to ask the group. If there's one thing that you have learned from this out of those stages that you feel could apply directly to your next conversation, what could that be? anyone wants to jump in, otherwise I might not nominate somebody to have a go. There's an answer there in the text.
Mm-hmm.
To review our business before question.
You have your product not clear yet. Interesting. Well, if you want to book a call and see if I can help you with that, feel free. Music, yes. Music is a different, very different industry. Let me just put a chat here. No is the beginning, not the end. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I feel more comfortable with the no. Using empathy as a tool. Yes, it is. The no is a good thing. Yeah, go for it. Just put the link in the chat. Love the listening part, really want to help people. Yep. All right.
Fantastic. So what I'm kind of gathering from everything is just be an actual human being who wants to help. You know, we might all have kind of, you know, sales targets or bills to pay, but that isn't the most important part, is it? It's about, are we actually offering somebody something that will serve them and help them get from where they are to where they need to be, and give them the opportunity to say no if it's not right, and learn from that, and then go from there. Jill asks, where can we watch the replay? So you should check your inboxes in a day or so, and I'll be sending you the link to watch the video. And what I'll also do is include some more information about Martin, how you can take things to the next step if you do so wish, and a bit more information about me and what I do as well, if that would be of value to everybody. You send a copy of people's chat links in the chat.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Send a copy of the links in people's chats. All right, I think everybody might be full up, unless there's any further questions.
I think that is it now. I think that we've all got to go back to work, and I think we will go back to work with some great ideas, inspiration, and feeling more confident in making those sales calls in the future. So yeah, thank you once again, Martin, for your insights and you know, sharing everything that you've learned over the years. It's been fantastic, you know, us chatting over the past few months, and to have the opportunity to share your framework with, you know, my audience and your audience too. So yes, let's all, you know, link in with each other if we haven't already. And like I said, look out for an email, and I might do a quick roundup LinkedIn post with everybody who joined, and we can continue the conversation from there. Cool. So yeah, if that sounds good to everybody, I shall let you all get back to your day. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Martin. Have a fantastic.
Pleasure. Thanks for being here. And yeah, see you again.
Okay. Cheerio.